Have you ever been on a interview before?
I've done like podcasts with my friends and shit.
Yeah.
But like, not like this or anything.
What was that podcast like?
Stupid. Just like get real high and drunk and talk shit the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All good?
Are you guys rolling already?
We are rolling. Yeah, we're rolling.
Sick.
We're rolling. So, Cameron Shepard.
Yep.
How are you?
Doing well, man. You?
Yeah, I'm doing great. I'm very excited to have you here today.
Thanks, man.
I want to start by saying something. It might be controversial, but I just want to get your raw reaction to it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, from an outsider watching you, I've seen you do a quantum leap in your comedy in the last year.
Thanks, dude.
Okay?
I've been trying.
Transparently, a year ago, I was like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll go on record and say this, that you may have murdered the hardest anyone has murdered in that room.
Hear that, people? There we go.
It's true.
Thank you.
So I kind of want to start by just asking you, like, was there a change, or what happened?
Well, I think when someone first like sees me, it's a lot to like get to know at first. So I can really confuse the shit out of people, or I can just, just shock you real bad. But like, I don't think anything's really changed as far as just like, I do as much spots as I can, as much mics as I can, and I'm just learning how jokes work, the fundamentals of it all. Mm-hmm. But I haven't really, felt a huge change. I do as many spots as I can. I just love to do this. I just love doing stand-up. Yeah.
But you're like a young guy, right? Like I think I've gathered it, but how old are you?
I'm 24.
24 years old.
I started during COVID when I was like 21.
How did you start during COVID?
So there was only like 2 mics. It was like Kegs in this place called like Rosie's, and we all got kicked out of the bar because we wouldn't wear our mask on stage. Mm-hmm. So like I had this idea like, man, Nashville sucks, but then everything opened back up and I was like, whoa, this is actually super, super cool. But it was really hard, man. Like you couldn't get any like stage time at all unless you had your Vax cards and all that. Like there was only 2 spots to do.
But like, was this always an aspiration for you?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So to bring me back to like where this all starts.
So I've wanted to do stand-up since I was like 14.
Okay.
Once I was 12 and I figured out like, oh man, I'm not going to be the shortstop for the St. Louis Cardinals. I was like, oh,
I did see a lot of Cardinals stuff on your Instagram when I was doing my research.
I'm a diehard.
Okay.
Cards fan. So I was like, what am I kind of good at? Well, I'm kind of funny, so I should maybe like try to do like SNL or like Tonight Show. But then I saw Nick Swardson do stand-up, and I was like, I want to do whatever he's doing. Just whatever he's doing. I almost started when I was like 18, but I was too scared to like go to a bar or something and be like, you're too young, go away.
Right.
So I started right at 21.
So right at 21, it's like you can drink and you can do stand-up. Yeah. Do you remember your first show?
Oh yeah. So we all had to wear masks on stage, and I ate a big plate of shit, and I stuttered really bad, and it was horrible. I humiliated myself.
Well, like, I'd have to imagine doing stand-up comedy for the first time is already hard, but doing it through a mask, staring at, I imagine, a bunch of masked people, it's quite odd.
It shouldn't have been happening, honestly.
Yeah,
right?
They should have just canceled it all together instead of making it, retrofitting it and making it work.
I should have just held off for a bit, but I really wanted to do it.
Is there any joke, bit, concept from 21 that is still alive and well today?
Yeah. I've got that joke about herpes.
Okay.
That was one of my first jokes, and that one still gets me through the day, man.
Yeah.
Like, it's so weird how like you've always got those first jokes when you start that you still do, but like it's always one, and then all the rest you drop and you will never tell again, and you don't want anyone to know them or anything.
There's a comic in town who he has a joke about you know, the punchline of the joke is basically a bunch of dogs being drowned. Which it's a tough one. You know, sometimes I haven't really seen it land, and I'm always like, I just don't know if that's the one. But I can see in his heart he just really wants to hang on to it, which I respect, and I believe completely that one day he is going to figure it out, and then I'm going to be like, well, I guess I didn't. I clearly didn't know what I was talking about.
Yeah.
But have you had any jokes like that where it was just you just didn't want to let it go, but one day you just said, I just can't?
I've got jokes that I still like. I love them, and like they make me happy. So if there's like a horrible mic and like a bad room or it's just comics, I'm gonna tell all the Cameron jokes that to a real crowd I come off like a psychopath, like a crazy person, but I just love them and they make me super happy. But there's a ton of those that like you feel really good about, and like you're like obsessive over it, and then it never works, and then you look back on it, you're like, why did I think this bit about playing leapfrog naked was going to be the greatest thing ever? You know, like all of it.
There's something about, and you tell me if you agree with this or not, right? But I feel like there's some rooms, some environments where it's sort of just like, you just know you're gonna crush in this environment. It's so tailored for you. It's the right crowd. It's the right dynamic. It's the right size. It's the right level of sound, and it's the right level of I guess annoyances around the show. Sometimes Can you describe what I guess your ideal perfect room would look like?
Not really. I don't really. It's just about the crowd to me. It's not really about like, oh, like is this set up right? Like, are these ceilings or anything like this? I'll just do any environment I can be.
So you walk out and you see a room of 3 people in kind of a dive bar.
Yeah.
And you walk out and you see a room of 100 people ready to rock. Doesn't matter for you.
Well, 3 compared to 100, of course it does, but I'm going to go out there and die either way.
Yes.
You know, like, that's my whole thing. Like, I could get mugged and killed right after this set, so I want to just shoot my whole body into this, and really.
I had a lunch with this comic, Mal Hall, who basically said, like, what separates, like, the goods from the greats, it's that mentality. It's like, it does not matter who's out there. I'm going to give it all that I have every single time and leave it all out there. So
it's fun too.
And you just get used to that. You build that muscle. You're always going to be able to turn it on, no matter what.
For sure.
Okay, cool. So I kind of want to go back into like your personal history a little bit. So you're a Cardinals fan.
Yeah.
Did you grow up in Arizona? Like, where does this start for you?
My whole family is from southern Missouri.
Okay.
Sorry about the stuck. Holy shit.
I'm going to poke at that actually in a moment too, but let's keep going. Yeah.
So they're from there, and it's all we have out there. So we don't have like a basketball team or a pro football team anymore. So baseball has always been a huge thing. Like, I was born a Cardinals fan. I didn't have a choice of it. All I knew is that, like, God hates the Cubs, and the Cardinals are amazing, and you'll never like any other team, or you won't be allowed home for Christmas if you're not a Cardinals.
And all the stockings have Arizona Cardinal logo.
It's cool, man.
So did you have siblings?
Yeah, I got a sister who's about to have a kid, actually.
Okay, congrats.
She got bit by that damn trouser worm.
Yeah, I got one too, man.
Yeah, dude, you just had a kid too.
Great,
but
great.
I have a sister who's like 3 years older than me. She's married, doing the whole thing. So I'm the youngest.
Yep.
It's cool. It's fun.
So before you kind of like called yourself out a little bit, but I imagine like, there's a famous movie called The King's Speech, right?
Yeah, that's a great film.
Great film, right? And this guy had to kind of overcome, I guess, a speech impediment or something. Like, is this something that you've had forever? Did you develop at some point? Okay.
I've just had them a whole lot. And it's so weird too, because like my dad, he doesn't have a stutter. My mom, like, none of my grandparents do. It's just me. So it's just this weird thing, like, if I don't feel like someone's paying attention to me, or just like really weird words too, my brain just shits itself for some reason.
No kidding. So like Missouri before was sort of like, you know, you just had to kind of...
Yeah.
It's really amazing, I think, that you can have a speech impediment that you know you can't control, and you don't know when it's going to hit, and then you can go up and do stand-up comedy.
Right.
Like, all right, maybe you make it through 5 minutes. All right, now we're getting to 10 minutes. But like, I'm watching you, and you're doing 15, 20 now. I feel like that's a space that you're pretty comfortable in. Is that true? Would you say? Does it happen on stage ever?
No.
What's that all about?
That was my biggest worry starting out. Like, I'm gonna stutter. But then you see guys like Donnie and stuff. Like, he's a comic here. His whole act is he has a stutter. Yeah. And he makes it funny. So like, seeing him, I'm like, he's doing my worst nightmare on stage right now. So like that was cool to be like, oh, so even if I do, I can still, you know, do stand up. But for some reason, when the whole crowd is looking at me and I know I'm the center of attention right now, no one's gonna interrupt, no one's gonna do that. I just don't stutter. And there's a ton of adrenaline too, I think. That also fuels.
Yeah, it's almost like, that adrenaline's making your brain kind of fire a lot faster to, I guess, overcome whatever that speed bump is that happens sometimes. But I don't know, I find that really interesting that it's like obviously the bigger words fine, or confusing words fine, but the feeling like you're not being paid attention to, and then that having an impact on it, that's really interesting.
Like, only time on stage too, like, it's really weird, is when I know I'm about to say something really bad. It's almost like God or something is like, don't fucking say that joke. Don't say that. So like, that's when I've actually like kind of stuttered on stage. But other than that, thank God it doesn't happen.
Well, I mean, I don't know anything about this, by the way, but it's just fun to think out loud. I wonder if it's because, all right, in the two examples that you gave, right, or maybe there's three, but this one you just talked about, I know I'm about to say something bad. So a second voice is now, or a second perspective is now inside of your head watching you as you're about to do this thing. The other thing is I feel like when you don't feel you're being paid attention to, insecurity probably arrives. Now another voice is going, they're not paying attention to me. So it almost seems like maybe there's like this, when that second voice or that second perspective is present, it like throws the loop for it, right? The self-awareness sort of creates that hurdle. I don't know.
There's so at a Mexican restaurant, right? For some reason, because they don't speak English sometimes, so when I talk to them and they don't understand me, I can't even say a word sometimes. I stutter so much, so they probably think I'm like, there's something wrong with me, but like, I don't know what it is. Like, Mexican restaurants, and then like, my dad too. I'll like stutter around my dad real bad because I think it's like an authority thing, I guess. I don't know. It's random and it's in spurts.
So what's your attitude towards it? And I don't mean to like focus the whole conversation on this, but it's interesting. Like, are you sort of like, if you're sitting at the Mexican restaurant and you're trying to get your order out and you're just not getting it out, are you just like, yeah, man, like, is there an acceptance of this thing, or do you get like pissed and annoyed?
I used to get really mad, but now I know it's just, I can't control it. Like, I've been like speech therapy, and there's like ways to like slow it down or stop it, but they don't work either, you know? So it's just like, I'll be like, hey, Emily, my like girlfriend or from, you order my food for me.
Yeah.
Because I know at Las Maracas, I'm not going to be able to get this order. So just save me from the embarrassment right now.
And if you go solo, you just get to do the point thing. You're like, listen, it's right here.
I'll go there and pretend I'm deaf or something. And just like go on my phone and do something.
For a second, I thought you were doing that trick where it shows that like your thumb comes off.
Yeah, I was.
You were? Okay, all right.
Nice. It's sign language.
It's yes. So I guess thinking about like where you're at right now in your comedy career, so it sounds like 3 years, maybe 4 almost?
4 in September.
4 in September. How do you feel like you're progressing, and like what's next? What are you excited about on the horizon for you?
So I finally feel like I'm at a point where like I can do like not long time but kind of long time, and I've learned like the fundamentals of jokes, and like I've been in some clubs and stuff like that. So now I really want to focus on the business model part, like making content to boost up my stand-up so people will want to come see me, and then going on the road just as much as I can, get past that survival job where I'm like serving tables and just try to be a full-time comic as much as I can, and just do this as much as possible.
And it does seem like, I think that's totally the right focus, right? Because you have to figure out that business operation side of your brand.
Yep.
Right? And then there's an element of like, and I've talked to some comics where they go, man, I don't want to put all this stuff out there yet because I don't have enough in the chamber behind it, right? So it's like you're kind of like building it, but there's a balance. I don't know if it's like an or, it's kind of like an and. You got to go, listen, you got to be present, you got to get your personality out there, and you just have to find a mechanism where maybe it's not like burning all your jokes that you're still working on. And you just got to write so much. Like that's why I started out same time as you during COVID. So January 2020, I started going to open mics for the first time, and I had done like some improv comedy in Boston back in the day. But I was going to mics for a couple months, then all the clubs closed, and that's why I started the show in the backyard. I was like, I just want to practice. I want to get out there and I want to work on it. So June 2020, we start the show, and then I just found that I couldn't write enough. Like I had like, whatever, a good 7-8 minutes I was comfortable with, but the amount of work it takes to like really, really write good jokes and to create a large volume of jokes.
Yes.
I don't know what I'll just ask you, like, how often are you writing new material?
I'll try to sit down for like an hour or do something, but like there's some weeks you're firing off on all cylinders and you feel like the funniest, smartest comic in the world, and then there's some weeks you're just like, fuck, I can't write anything if I had a gun to my head. But what helps me write is when I go to a show or I go to a mic and I bomb, or I do all those things are like new jokes you've been telling for a while that are good. Like doing stage time, that will push you to write because you're like, man, like how do I never eat shit like that again?
Right.
Write more stuff, just going out. So keeping yourself accountable by just doing stand-up will help you get motivated to write, is what I found.
Yep. Well, I just want to say I've been just really, really impressed by you, and like I love your energy in this room. And we were saying before, like, it doesn't matter how many people in the room. There's 3 people there. Tonight, if I'm being honest, it looks like a light night down at Backyard Comedy. But I know from talking to you that like that's not going to get in the way. No, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes. I mean, some of the best shows that I've been to are the unexpected ones where there's only a couple people there, and it's like, wow, like we're having this really intimate, private show.
Yeah.
But anyways, I just want to like give a kudos to you. I think you're young, you're hungry, you're doing all the right stuff, and I just appreciate you sitting down with us and chat for a little bit. And yeah, man, just good luck with everything. Keep doing the work.
All right. Thank you, dude.